a story goes like this. Kora kora kandre, kandrin taye, tayin odaya, odayin kayil kole, kole chuttum kodiye, kodi valarum kulame, குளத்தில் நிற்கும் கொக்கே கொக்கு பிடிக்கும் மீனே மீன் பிடிக்கும் வலையா வலையின் கையில் சட்டி சட்டி பிடிக்கும் கொயவன் கொயவன் தரும் மண்ணே மண்மேல் வளரும் புல்லே புல்லை திங்கும் குதிரையே என் பேர் என்ன. One thing my father taught me is don't react, just respond. Wow. Ask yourself what next. I think the heart has a beautiful way of touching people's lives. 99% of people who have left my course, they don't want to leave because they feel transformed, they feel healed, and they feel that they have so much more to carry for their lives.
So a person who was put away from a classroom for not teaching the students the way the other teachers thought that they should be taught were called to teach teachers. How beautiful. This is a wonderful story. We are here to know the story of India's most famous storyteller. There's no other way to define her rather than call her an inspiration. As a teacher, a librarian, and now as a storyteller for 25 years, shining so bright at her silver jubilee of being a storyteller, she represents Indian brand of storytelling across the world with almost 50 countries in the list right now. We are speaking with Geeta Ramanujam, ma'am, and thank you so much for being here, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me here to be part of your podcast.
Our honor. So our podcast is basically the question, how did you? And with you, we do have to know, how did you start your connection with stories? When was it that stories sparked a light inside you?
I could begin by saying that storytelling happened by chance, not by choice, because it was a time in 1995, 96. I think we had grandmothers telling stories at homes. It was part of our tradition, especially in India. But there was no a formal thing called a storyteller. So it was more, I would say, a little English in its coining of the word itself. But there was nobody to revive the storytelling tradition because there was vast migration happening from villages to cities, especially post-independence. And I think nuclear families, parents very busy, wanting their children to go to good schools. We had the British hangover. So I think all of them wanted to go to British English medium schools. And so it so happened that the communication between parents, children, grandparents, that was the first stage when we started losing it. And I think the connect itself was through stories. So here I am, born and brought up in Bombay. My father was one of the migrants who came from a place called Nagarkoil. And he was from South. My mother was from Tanjore. And very culturally rich places in one sense. But you come to Bombay in search of a job, and there I was the first born. And but both of them were very clear that they did not want me to lose out on my roots. So I went to an English medium school where the second language was Hindi and third language was Marathi. And my mother tongue is actually Tamil. My mother was very particular that I speak the Tamil language and I don't lose touch of that. So I remember I was almost about 6 years old, 6 to 7 years old, and we were a lot of children in the family. And my sisters and my aunts and my uncles, people were also there with us. We had a little room, and we had in that room 3 windows, and each one of us were given one window.
Oh.
That's how we, in
what
one
would you
room.
do?
So the window had a shelf.
Right.
That's where we kept our books.
Okay, so that was your
That
space.
was my space.
All right.
So, this was how we stayed. And then my mother, she always insisted that I have to help her in the kitchen because she had to pack a lot of dabbas.
All right,
Okay,
okay.
so a
A
lot
lot
of
of lunch
dabbas
and
for all the
tiffins
lunch
going.
and tiffins going. So one of the tasks I had was what we call as ammi. And
Yes,
this
for
were
the chapati and
grinding,
everything.
for
Yes.
grinding, correct?
Yeah.
So every day it was very easy for my mother to pack some chutney. Yeah, with chapati, with puri, with rice, everything. The chutney will go with anything.
Right.
So every day something to grind.
That's
And
your
that
task.
grinding was my task.
Okay.
Okay, and she was so busy. A slightly short tempered, I would say, because I can understand she had to
A
pack so
big
many
family
dabbas.
and
Yeah,
everything
big
happening.
family. So here she would say, listen. And when she said listen, she meant it
The world
because there was
stops there.
nothing. Yeah, you had to listen to her. So she would say, when you grind, don't go too fast. When you come to the center, go slow. When it comes to this consistency, you remove it. Soft and texture. And don't be, and then she'll say, wash clean. And put that koravi, what you call that roller, in the right place. And don't be like that that forgot its name.
E
Now,
that forgot its
in
name?
Tamil is a housefly, what
Oh,
we call
okay.
makki.
Yes, okay. We call it
So,
Icha in
Icha,
Malayalam, yes.
yes. So don't be like that Icha, which forgot its name.
Okay.
Now, for a child who's about 6 or 7 years old, what do you think would be the most attractive thing? Why did this housefly forget
Forget the
its
name.
name? But if I ask my mother at that time, what is that story? I know there will be only one answer. One pat. Okay. Those days, no human rights, child rights, and all.
No.
Only one right.
Right.
That is
Mom is right.
but mom's right. That's all. So I would not ask her then, but I will go to school thinking, why did that housefly forget the name? Why did that housefly? Then I'll come back home and evening very good mood, mummy. So I would ask her, what is that you told me, no, that housefly Icha forgot his name. Tell me, no, what it is. And then she will tell me that story. And
Okay.
that story she will tell in Tamil.
Right.
Okay, and the story goes like this. Kora kora kandre, kandrin taye, tayin odaya, odayin kayil kole, kole chuttum kodiye, kodi valarum kulame, குளத்தில் நிற்கும் கொக்கே கொக்கு பிடிக்கும் மீனே மீன் பிடிக்கும் வலையா வலையின் கையில் சட்டி சட்டி பிடிக்கும் கொயவன் கொயவன் தரும் மண்ணே மண்மேல் வளரும் புல்லே புல்லை திங்கும் குதிரையே என் பேர் என்ன. Okay.
Okay.
Now I stared at my mother because I didn't understand anything.
Pretty much like
Okay.
how I'm looking
Yeah,
at
how
you
you
now.
are looking at me, I looked at my mother.
Okay.
Then, since she was in a good mood, she was also very good with mathematics.
Wow.
Now, I must tell you this. She was very patient that time and she said, okay, I'll translate it for you. So, the translation goes like this. This housefly, it forgets its name. So, it goes to the calf, the little calf, and in its ears it says, tell me, no, what is my name? What is my name? The calf says, how do I know your name? Ask my mother from whom I drink milk.
Right.
Then goes to the mother. The mother says, "Bleh, how do I remember your name?" And says, ask the stick that drives me. The stick says, ask the creeper that grows around me. The creeper says, ask the pond in which I grow. The pond says, ask the crane who stands whole day on one leg.
Okay.
The crane says, ask the fish which I eat.
Okay.
Fish says, ask the net that falls over me. Net says, ask the fisherman who throws the net. Fisherman says, ask the pot in which I collect the fish. The pot says, ask the potter who makes me into a pot. The potter says, ask the mud which I mix with the clay. The mud says, ask the grass that grows over me. Now, to each one, our housefly E is going and asking, Yen per enna, yen per enna, yen per enna. It is fed up.
Right.
It says, Ayyo, I don't want to know my name.
Gave up.
And gives up
Okay.
and starts flying. At that time, one kudre comes, that one horse. And the horse comes and does, it says, I remember my name. Okay, so that's how he remembered the name.
Okay.
Next question my mother asked, how many characters?
Wow.
Ah.
So we weren't keeping
So
track of
again,
that.
no track of, because she was very good with mathematics. But then she always said, okay, forget it. Now tell me, the housefly went first to whom?
Okay.
So then I had to recall. So
Wow.
first it went to calf, then it went to the
Cow,
cow.
then to the stick, then the
Yes, you're
creeper,
good. And then from creeper to
to the pond,
pond,
to the crane, the
crane.
fish, the net, the fisherman, the pot, the mud, the grass,
No, the potter,
potter, the mud,
mud, the
the
grass,
grass,
and then the horse.
horse. Yes. Thank you.
Wonderful, no? So it was so good for memory. Huh?
Wonderful. Yes.
And I learned the Tamil language.
Through
Because you
these
see,
stories.
this is the best way of teaching a language also.
True.
And we had in Tamil, you have, I'm sure in Malayalam also you have that, like R is a,
Yes.
yeah, so that R is very difficult. So like ஏழை பையன் வியாழக்கிழமை வாழைப்பழத்தில் வழுக்கி விழுந்தார். So she will teach me this afterwards. So that
Because
I get
in
the
other
aras.
languages, you won't get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is how I learned the language. So
Right.
this was my first kind of entry into the storytelling world.
Wonderful. That is one of the best ways to get into your
Exactly.
passion through your
Exactly.
mom and with such values.
Yes.
And again, these voices. And I was
Yes.
lucky enough to witness a session you had with kids just before this interaction.
Yes.
And you had all these voices coming out of
Yes.
your throat. Again, God bless. That's such a talent. When did that start? How did you discover, okay, I can add these voices to the
Okay, so one
stories?
of the things, my father in the night, before going to sleep, he will tell me all the stories from history
Okay.
and also the dialogues and all that. So, all the history I learned, and his English would be immaculate, perfect language. So, if you want to learn a language, the best is to listen to it. So I still remember my father telling me the story of Julius Caesar and saying, "You too, Brutus, then fall Caesar." So he used to
With
use
that
that
pain
voice
and
with that
modulation.
voice and
Wow.
modulation, and he'll fall off because he was feeling sleepy. Okay,
Okay.
and he'll say, "All of you go to sleep."
Final act.
So that is how little bit of the voice, but I did not realize then. They used to take me to a lot of discourses like Chimyananda, discourses in spiritual discourses. And I remember Swami Chimyananda, we were all small children, we'll be playing, and all that fell on my ears. He would say, ego and egocentric desires. Okay.
Okay.
So I will come home and imitate him.
Wow.
And then when we go to movies, like we went to the cartoons, right? Tom and
Right.
Jerry,
Animation
also
movies, yes.
animation movies. In that, there's, and Tweety is my name. Yeah, okay. Putty cat, do you see who I am? Like,
Yes.
I think I saw another putty cat. So that's how the Tweety bird would say.
Yes.
So I would come back and imitate that
At what
Tweety
age
bird.
almost?
This was almost 7, 8, like
Okay.
that. And then watching films. So sometimes I would imitate these actors and actresses.
Okay.
So suicide cancel, like Dharmendra. Okay, so I would emote Battamis Kahinka, like Sadhana, Asha Parekh. So, idiot kahinka, like, so her voice. So, these modulations, the sounds, I used to imitate, and I became the entertainer for my family.
Right. For
So,
the whole
every time,
family. You had a
yes,
theater.
yes. So, they'll say, imitate this person, imitate that person. So, that's how I started emoting. But I didn't know, it was just by the way in the family that this happened. And then growing up with stories, of course. But still, you don't call it storytelling, isn't it?
True.
And then grew up, came to Chennai. My father got a transfer in the 10th, and then I did my college first year, second year, and then got married. Eldest in the family, so got married. And then didn't know what to do because went to Canada.
Oh.
And then I was sitting at home and then wondering what to do. And I went to a substitute school and they said, "Why don't you tell a story to children?" So I did a little bit of storytelling for those children, Cinderella and Snow White and things like that, fairy tales. But even then, I didn't know that I could be a storyteller. I was just a teacher. Then I came back to India and then I became a teacher. Then I became, I taught in the Krishnamurti school. I started teaching history, and history is the most boring subject.
Sleepy
So
classes more,
I
yes.
thought, why not, fill it up with stories? So that's how I started talking about Charles Darwin, theory of evolution. And I used to do like the monkey, the ape with the long hand. And, children would climb up on trees and listen to my story.
Wow.
So they loved it. Again, I was not aware. And then one day they said, the teachers were not too happy because I was
With the way
teaching.
you're doing?
Yeah,
How come?
because they said, what is this? Children are climbing up trees and listening to her
Oh,
lessons.
okay.
So let's take her away from the school.
Right.
Let's put
They
her.
weren't
They
saying
were
how
not.
positively it's
No,
impacting them.
no.
Unfortunate. Okay.
Yeah, because we all come with a very conditioned mind, right? Then
Right.
they put me in the library. Okay, so
That's so
now
unfair.
I know, but you know what? Everything I looked at, one thing my father taught me is don't react, just respond.
Wow.
Ask yourself, what next?
So you didn't want to protest that. You didn't
No,
want to go ask them or maybe leave that place and go.
no.
You just
I just took it. I said
responded,
it's
didn't
all for the
react.
good.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, so I did a course in library science. And then uh, the famous actor Girish Karnad and Arundhati Nag, all their children, I was their class teacher.
Oh.
Okay, and so he would come to the library. And so one day, when I was in the library, the children were not reading. And I said, let me tell them a story from the classics. So I
Right.
said, he walked and walked and walked, and the door opened, and and the bell rang.
Okay.
And they said, what happened next? Then I said, if you read from page 36, you'll get the rest of the story.
Wow. That's how
And
you sell a
that's how,
book.
yeah. And so Girish Karnad was listening, and next to his cousin, and they said, what a wonderful way of instigating people to read. Let's have a workshop in the city. So, the first workshop in 1996, we had in the city 1 week workshop. It was on storytelling, and one day epic, one day legends, like that. And I had a gardener in the school who was multifaceted. He could make these bamboo toys, he could do paper folding. So, he did all the activities for me.
Wow. For this session, the
For the
first session.
sessions, yeah.
Okay.
And the last day was for fables. So I said, once upon a time, there was a lion, yeah? And the lion, it's a simple story. So the lion is very hungry and he's very angry. So he's coming looking, and that's when he feels very tired and goes to sleep. And there's a little mouse, and the mouse thinks it's a playground, and ayya, ayya, it's playing. And the lion wakes up and, oh, please don't eat me. I'll help you one day. Okay, go
Okay.
before I change my mind. So this mouse goes running back, and the mother says, why are you panting and puffing? Mummy, I would have been somebody's lunch today, but I promised to help. So mummy says, okay, don't forget your promise. And another day, the lion is caught in the net. And help, help. The mouse comes running. Help! Says, if you shout so much, I can't think.
Okay.
Okay, so you better move back now. So the lion moves back. It says, idea. And bites the net. And he says, hello. And the mouse says, but you said you won't eat me. No. Can I play hide and seek every day with you? Sure. And that's the end of the story. All finished, went off very well. There was a person from Times of India.
Okay.
He was, I think, the regional manager, and he had sent his child for my first workshop.
Wow.
And the next day, there was a column in the newspaper, Eau, sounds coming from a room. If you want to know who this is, it's a storyteller in action. This is her name, and this is her phone number.
Wow.
It came in the newspaper.
That's such a fairy tale.
I know. And there was a lady who was coming from Madurai, principal of 3 schools. She reads this, she picks up the phone, and she tells me, are you Geeta Ramanujam? Yes. Listen, I have 300 teachers. You are coming to Madurai to train the teachers in the art of storytelling.
So, a person who was put away from a classroom for not teaching the students the way the other teachers thought that they should be taught were called to teach teachers. And just because you didn't react and you stayed in the library, that's what led you there. How beautiful. This is a wonderful story.
Yeah.
And that started a journey where you started representing India, not just in one or two countries, 43
Yes.
plus 40, almost
Yeah.
50 countries
48
now,
countries.
48 countries now. Again, when did you, or how did you rather, again, going by the title, decide, okay, now let's go abroad and let's connect with maybe the Indian diaspora or maybe the native kids of those
So
lands?
let me be very honest. I'm not bragging about myself. Uh, I have never approached anyone or asked anything. Things have come my way, just like how the storytelling happened.
Right.
So there was a person who just came and said, uh, "We will join you, two teachers from the school. Let's form an organization.
Right.
We'll call it Kathalaya." So I said, okay, how much money do we put? We were earning only 1,500. So all three of us pooled the money. Then one person came and said, I represent India Foundation for the Arts. So I will give you a grant for 1 year to
Oh,
try this, make it a trust. We made it a trust. And then we tried it in 5 schools. So I went back to my director and I told him, I'm resigning. And he said, how sure are you that this is going to work? I said, I don't know, my gut feeling. He said, okay, there's one thing. I will keep this job for you.
okay.
After 1 year, because we love you. And if it doesn't work, you can come back for this job.
It was that time's equivalent of a startup. You were just
Yes,
starting
just
something.
starting something and no idea.
Right.
And it just picked up like that. And first year, it was getting over when there was a person from abroad who heard about me. Can you believe this? This was a time when there was no social media, there was no like much of computers
Internet
and
not being so
internet, nothing.
accessible, right?
So he came from abroad. He sent his representative. The representative had one more regional representative in Bangalore.
Okay.
That regional representative said, my boss heard about you, and we give a grant for people fellowship, and it's called Ashoka Fellow, and this is given only to one person in one country for a year. So for 3 years. So we are going to interview you and we can see if you can get that fellowship. So they interviewed me and I got the fellowship. So
Naturally.
I was 3 years, I got that fellowship.
Right.
So at every stage, because of that Ashoka Fellow, I was connected to Ashoka Fellows around the world. So my first call came from Japan
Oh, okay.
in
The very first
2001,
one after
the
you
first one
initiated
after
this.
I initiated.
Okay.
Then first country, Japan. From Japan, Singapore. Singapore to South Africa. And it was no, every year I went to Poland, I went to Bahia, I went to Switzerland, I went to Sweden. I mean, I can't believe now how things just worked. You
It's
know?
truly amazing, ma'am. And
Yeah.
among all these fairy tales, I would like to know about a little bit about how you come out of your struggling moments. Because even a storyteller might have storyteller's block. I don't know
Yeah.
what it's
True,
called.
true.
So, as we come to a conclusion of today's session, again, because of time constraints, because
Yes.
one could listen to you for days on
I
end.
know.
But still, again, how do you come out of, or how did you rather
Constraints,
come
right?
out of your maybe struggling moments where you thought maybe this is not working right now and I should change?
Mm. So, including my husband, and you know the mentality of a lot of Indians, what can you earn from storytelling? Right? That, and it's a new field. And then people say, storyteller. Hmm. You know, it's not like a scientist.
No, anyone can
It's
do
not
it,
even
is what
anyone.
people
Yeah.
think.
So there was a lot of explanation that I had to do, and I had to tell myself, auto suggest, no, this is going to work, and it will be good, and I will earn money through this. This was my gut feeling. I mean, I kept telling myself, if it has worked so much, it will work. And one policy I had is I never did any free sessions. Totally free, no. Everything I said, I have a price and I will charge
A value for the
a
art.
value for the art. The second thing that worked very well is One is for entertainment. So I was called to films also, and I was also asked to entertain people. Storytelling became more of an entertainment. But I felt because I was in education and children learnt a lot. I'm sure in the story that you heard today, I mean,
Yes.
there was about planets. There was,
Yes.
but how to make lessons interesting for children was my main aim. That is why I started Kathalaya. So I said, okay, why don't I start? Now, children will listen. They will love stories, but they cannot pay you. Who's going to
Yes.
pay?
The
Parents
parents.
or teachers or maybe more people. This is what I came in my mind. And I traveled abroad. And once I had to go to US. I didn't have money, but I managed. And by accident again, I landed in the International Storytelling Center. There, suddenly one thought came. I spoke to the director called Jimmy Neil Smith, and I said, I want to start an international academy for storytelling with a diploma course, certificate course, like a university.
Okay.
And there is no academy like this in the world. And I want to train grown-ups in the art of storytelling, and I want to certify them. But a certificate from India is not going to work. So will you help me to get an affiliation?
Okay.
He said, granted.
Wow, just like that.
Just like that. He
Okay.
said, granted, go home, Geeta, you will get your certification. And why don't you also organize the first international festival in India? I will fund you.
Wonderful.
I said, wow. So I had the first international festival. It went into the Limca Book of Records. And I started my academy. And my certification came. And then, things just picked up. And all those who were not paying me, schools that were not working, suddenly for my course, I had corporate, I had doctors, I
Right.
had lawyers, grandparents, anyone. So they came for my course because they were curious. Second, because they also slowly, our software had started growing. They wanted something for presentation skills. They wanted something for empowering them in their training. So a lot of different kinds of people started coming for that course. And that became the success. So the second problem I had, what is my takeaway? Because it was a 1 week course in the beginning. I said, no takeaways. It's only a process. I'm not going to say this is this and guarantee no placements. You have to see whether you want to, benefit from this or not. I'm not giving you any guarantees. But fortunately, there was no such hiccups,
Questions or anything
nothing.
raised because they were
Only,
getting value out
yeah,
of
they were
it.
getting value. And the best part is they ask, what is the next level?
Right. What more can we
What more
get?
can we get? That's when I thought of the diploma course.
Okay.
So the diploma course is 6 months to 1 year. And it's a beautiful course. It is experiential. And I had international people to affiliate. I got an affiliation from University of Edinburgh for that course. So I have beautiful friends abroad who helped me at the right time. I'm not criticizing the people from India, but you need someone to authenticate this. So I think I finished 100 batches in 2016. I went back to Tennessee. That's where Jimmy Neil Smith was. When I entered Tennessee, I saw Jimmy Neil Smith Park, Neil Smith Town Hall, all named after Jimmy Neil Smith. And I asked him, is that you? And he said, yeah. And I said, oh, I didn't know you were such a big man. He said, how did you get the affiliation? I was thrice the mayor of this place.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. So I said, I must thank God that at the right time, at the right moment, people say, no, you should be at the right time, at the right place. I think that's all that happened.
And of course, the answer to facing struggles is keep on going, from what I
Yes, keep
understand.
going. And lonely moments, traveling alone, different types of food, different types of
Great.
people. But I think the when you change the adversity into energy and you change it into something beautiful, then I think that also becomes very positive, isn't it? So,
Truly, yes, ma'am. And the final question is basically a title. I
how
will
did you?
just have 3 words for you. I'm requesting you to complete that and then answer that yourself.
Okay.
So the question is, as you know, how did you, and then you can complete the question.
Okay. So, how did you inspire or transform so many lives?
If we can have a one line
One line
answer from you to
answer.
just put the bow on this
Um,
session.
so I tell stories from my heart. I don't use too much of my intelligence.
Hard to believe, but
And heart, I think the heart has a beautiful way of touching people's lives. 99% of people who have left my course, they don't want to leave because they feel transformed, they feel healed, and they feel that they have so much more to carry for their lives rather than just carry something which is only academic.
beautiful. Ma'am, 25 years as a storyteller. Here's wishing you a millennia where your stories live on. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.